Well, hello, friend. Welcome to another episode of The Kingdom Within. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm out here at Marsh Creek State Park. And I hiked here once, back over the winter time. And so there's a lot of boat rentals, so there's a lot of boats out on the water, and there's some people putting a canoe in down the way here, I think one of those fold-ups. And so I tried to find a spot where there was a little bit of light, yet I'm not in the sun, because I'll tell you what, it is really hot out here today. I don't know what the temperature is, because, well, I was in my office working this morning. I had some meetings, but the Holy Spirit told me this afternoon that it was time to come out and talk about what it is I'm thinking about. And, well, that's usually about Jesus and this Holy Spirit that Jesus told us we could have. Because that's really what my life is about. My life is really about just being for my Father, because, well, my Father's worth being for. And that's what's happened is I've just gotten to this place in my life where, well, I made him a promise, and that was that I'd give him everything and ask nothing for it, and therefore I have to kind of fulfill it. So I'm out here to give him everything and ask nothing for it. So there's just nothing else for me to do. To tell you the truth, I don't even know why I turned the camera on. What happens is usually he starts talking through me and I just kind of talk. Because the truth of the matter is I don't really have any great answers. I don't have any great messages. This love of Christ is the best thing in my life. And ever since I've received it, I've received this joy that just doesn't come. I can't even explain it. It's just phenomenal. And, well, since I made my Father this commitment, I'm here doing what it is that I said I would do for him, and that is to get on here and talk some. So it's a Thursday afternoon, and it's pretty hazy out and hot. But in the woods, it's actually pretty cool. There's a little breeze coming off the water, so it's not really bad to be out here. And, well, I just enjoy being out here. I enjoy being in nature, period, because, well, this is where I find the love of my Father. This is where I find the joy and the peace. This is where I come to think about the love of Christ and how it is that I can do what it is my Father wants me to do in my life. And sometimes that's a little more clear than other times, friend. And I'll tell you, I just knew I was supposed to be here at Marsh Creek today. It was kind of an oddball thing. I went out to put some money in the bank for rent tomorrow, and I had no idea whether I was going anywhere. I just knew that I was supposed to go for a ride, and, well, I almost turned around and went back. In fact, I started to, because I was thinking about some other things that I could get done. Except I already kind of had a flash of the thought of coming here to Marsh Creek, and then I thought, well, no, because Marsh Creek is going to be busy. There's going to be a lot of people. It's not a really big place. So maybe he meant French Creek. Or I got to thinking about this place down in Turnpike that I went to that was really a cool park, and it's got a lot of wooded area where I could get out and away from people. Well, that wasn't his plan. When I started down the Turnpike, just all of a sudden I felt like it was time to ask where Marsh Creek was, and I had no idea where I was at, or didn't even know what exit at the Turnpike to get off, or what exit was coming up, because I wasn't really paying attention. And, well, the exit, I entered Marsh Creek into my GPS, and boom, I'm 10 minutes from it at that point. So I just drove here because I knew that was where I was supposed to be. It doesn't make any sense to me. It never does. Sometimes I run into people and I talk about God. Sometimes I think it's just about me doing what God asks. And me being willing means that he can use me when the time is right. Or sometimes the time's right now. Like the other day, I found myself in a conversation with someone for like a half an hour out in the woods talking to a woman about the love of Christ. And, well, we might not have agreed on our truths, but you know what? We had a good time talking about them. And that's okay with me, friend. I don't have to, we don't have to agree. This is the truth. The truth is that, well, I don't believe in hell. And most people do that believe in Jesus because of some of the things that, the Bible says. And, Well, the truth of the matter is, man kind of got that twisted up, but Jesus actually did talk about this thought of Satan and about this great divide and all this suffering. But I'll tell you why he did that, friend. You have to keep those wolves in the pews. But I think you can figure out that there's a whole lot more wolves than what are in those pews now, friend. Here in this nation kind of declared itself one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And friend, our justice has kind of left us. If we ever had it, I'm not sure. That's the truth. I know that I went to help a friend that, I work with, she kind of inspires me. Her and her husband go and feed the homeless down in Kensington because, they come from a place where they know what it's like to be homeless, and so they see to it that people get some love, whether they're going to change their lives or not, that they feel as though people love and care about them. So I joined them on their adventure to go down to Kensington yesterday. Or not yesterday, it was actually the day before. It was Tuesday we went down, Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening after work. So anyway, I went there, and friend, everybody was like, a lot of people were high, they were drinking, we were in like some of the worst section of Philadelphia that there is as far as homelessness and drug use, and but I got to talk to people down there, and friend, I've come from kind of a background that isn't exactly sparkling either. I've told you over and over again that I'm surely not the firstborn, that I would be the prodigal son, because I've risen from the dark. My father, he blessed me with people like these people that I was talking about, that they just kind of showed up and helped me, and that's what's happened. My father kind of enticed me into this by putting these good people in my life that made me know humanity was worth saving, and convinced me I was worth saving, and I didn't think that, friend. I kind of given up on all of humanity, to tell you the truth, especially me. Of course, I say given up, but I'm not sure if I ever really did have much faith in humanity. It was only once I got to know my father better, and I'll tell you, this has been a long journey, me trying to make this journey to really get to know the love of Christ. And friend, I was a slow learner. I was trying to do what Jesus said, and I wasn't seeing it, and I was getting mad at my father, and I was misbehaving because I didn't believe in hell. I wasn't one of those wolves that stayed in the pews, friend. I was a lamb that kept turning back into a wolf, that turned back into a lamb, that turned back into a wolf. Because, it's not that I was really out intentionally hurting people, but friend, I wasn't thinking about what it is I was thinking about. I was like everybody else. I was doing things without thinking about it, and people were paying prices for the decisions I made. And sometimes we make decisions that we don't see the price people pay. Sometimes because we decide that we want to spend money gambling or what have you, we don't see the price of it because we don't see what happens when we support such ventures. And it's not right or wrong, even though it's both and therefore neither. But it is wrong, and a lot of the Christians don't think so because, they've just turned to gambling. But it said not to, and I know why, because I know some people that have lost everything. I've known some people that stole their family's credit cards because they were addicted to gambling. So if I were to support that game, I support that kind of behavior, and then what happens is the family members of those addicted people pay the price. And therefore, if you want to look at the small picture, the picture that Jesus wasn't talking about, you can say, that's not my problem. But friend, if you know Jesus, it is your problem, because it's mine, because it's ours. It's my Father's. My Father doesn't want us hurting each other. He wants us loving one another. And that's what's happened is I've just learned that love is the better truth, and it's the better choice. So I just try to make sure that I'm choosing love and forgiveness at every turn. Today in the meeting we were talking about that, and sometimes, how we get to know ourselves, we create our own identity, friend. We thought that everybody else was at fault, but it's really every thought we have and choice we make is what defines who we are to ourselves, because it doesn't matter what you see, it's what I know about me. So when I choose to be selfish and I choose to cause another suffering, well then I choose to know myself as less. But if I choose to be more like the love of Christ and I choose to love another and to put them ahead of me, then I get to know myself as a greater human being and a greater love for my Father. And when I do it in His name, well then He gets the credit for it, friend. I don't have the kind of love and forgiveness that I need to do what it is I do nowadays, but through the love of my Father, I have all kind of forgiveness and love, but it's His, it's not mine. And if I take credit for it, He'll take it back. That's the way it works. So I try to give Him credit as much as possible, especially on these videos, friend, because I'm just here to talk about the love of Christ and how it is that you can receive it in your life, and how it is that your thoughts are yours. And if you want them to not be yours anymore and you don't want them to cause you suffering, then you can do what Jesus said, because Jesus told you you can give Him as your thoughts. And you can receive holy thoughts in place of these old thoughts that you had. So if you're suffering from your own selfishness and the things that other people have done to you, you can give up your thoughts and trade them in for these things called holy thoughts. But you have to get to know Jesus. You have to start doing what Jesus asked you to do. And what happens is when you make these decisions, you give yourself new thoughts about yourself. If you don't want new thoughts about yourself, then you're never going to follow what Jesus said. Because if you're content with you, then it's just like Jesus said. He told you He came for people in need of a doctor. So if you're not in need of a doctor, well, then you're not going to listen to me because you didn't listen to Him. Unless you don't need a doctor because you did listen to Him. Because love is the purpose of the world. My Father created all this so that He could know love by experience. And if we choose it, we can know love by experience too. That's the great joy in all of this. I got the experience. I'll tell you, they did all the work. When we went to Kensington, they commit to, like, they take food down and water, and they prep to getting this stuff. They get people to give it to them, like Wawa donates them a bunch of sandwiches and stuff. So they do all the work, and I just got the great job of showing up and handing it out and acting like I did something when I really didn't do anything. But what I got to do was I got the opportunity to see my Father's children in despair, which is good for me to do because, friend, I don't want to be like those ones that left Lazarus outside of the gate. See, He told you that getting the rich man into the kingdom is like getting the camel through the eye of a needle. And He wasn't lying about that because, well, if you're willing to let them starve, then my Father's going to be willing to let you starve. That's just the way it is. But now, if He gave you something and told you to keep it, then it was yours to have. But if you only have it because you didn't know that you could have found out whether He wanted you to have it or not, that's because you didn't get to know this Jesus. Because Jesus told you. But He did tell you that I may have nothing, and you may end up with everything, and you'll have just enough, and so will I. Because, see, friend, it's not important what I have. What happens is this relationship is between me and my Father. And so, therefore, it doesn't matter what you have or what you don't have. The only question is, what do I have, and what am I giving to my Father so that He can give it to me? Because the more I give to my Father, the more He can give to me, and the more He gives to me, the more I have to give to you. Except there's nothing I need, friend. He takes care of all my needs. The miracles that happen are unprovable because they're just simply that, except for they show up as things that just look like coincidence. Sometimes people give me things, or have in the past, and gotten me out of a jam. My Father is full of miracles. And that's the way this works. But it's one of those things that I can never prove to another person that I experience miracles. Nor do I need to, because the truth of the matter is, I'm not here to get a miracle. I promised my Father that I would do my best to be the miracle. And so therefore, my job is to try to give to another what it is I would seek from myself. And what I seek from myself is the love of my Father. And therefore, I seek to love other people the way my Father wants me to love them so that I can receive and give Him my love. Because the truth of the matter is, what can I give God? God already has everything. Jesus already told us that. He said that my Father was going to come for the rent, right? So that means that this was all His, including our bodies. So He was actually, everything's kind of like loaners. So I'm wearing my loaner, friend. So when he comes to collect the due, I'll have paid my rent, see. But it's not because I'm afraid, because I was never afraid of my Father. That's the reason I wasn't acting right. But now I do it for the love of my Father, because he showed me the truth of who he is and the truth of who you are and who I am, and that is that when Jesus said that he was in the Father and the Father's in him, I'm telling you, I'm in the Father and the Father's in me, and you're in the Father and the Father's in you. Well, there's a motorboat passing by. I don't know if you'll be hearing that on the camera. So it doesn't really matter, because no one will believe that you're in the Father and the Father's in you, because people aren't getting the truth of what really Jesus said. Because, well, if you really got it, you'd have to let go of the world literally. And a lot of these Christians, they want to pretend as though they can have everything and give nothing and still get this thing called the kingdom. And Jesus told you that wasn't true. But those churches, those priests, well, they were talking with like serpents. They had split tongues. They were telling you half-truths. They said that you can have his death and receive your life, but that's not true, that you have to accept his death and therefore accept his life. Do what he asked, and then because you did what he asked, you would have gotten to know him, and because you got to know him, you would have got to know the Father. And because you'd have known one and the other, you'd have come to love both, and therefore you would have no longer feared the Father, because Jesus told you, he said, if you know the Son, then you know the Father, and because you know the Father, you know the Son. So understand that Jesus was love and forgiveness, and therefore so was my Father. However, if you did not discover that, and you are still afraid of my Father, it's because you did not do what Jesus asked you to do. So I'm telling you that you should go do what Jesus asked you to do. And you will find out that this dilemma that I became in is going to be the dilemma you're going to find yourself in. And that is when you come to realize that you are capable of loving and forgiving others, that means my Father is too. Jesus asked you to forgive others their debts, to forgive them for condemning you, yet you think my Father is going to send you to hell for all eternity because you denied him. Friend, is your love greater than my Father's? Did Jesus ask you to be greater than God? There were secrets going on, friend. He gave you all these truths. He gave you all this stuff. He told you to do these things, and if you'd have done them, you'd have found out the truth. He said, give your gifts in secret. Not just do good things for people, but don't tell anybody you're doing them. Yet he didn't just say that. He actually showed you by every time he was healing people, over and over again, he would tell people, don't tell anyone, go home or go to the priest and give your sacrifice or whatever it is that was required, or go tell no one. Yet they ran around and told everyone anyway. Because this is the truth. The truth is, it's in the gifts that you don't talk about are the ones that your thought of Satan can't get a hold of. Because your thought of Satan is your selfishness, and it is your pride, and it will blow you up like a tick, and then it will crush you for it. And you'll never find this love of Christ because, well, you'll just never be able to feel good about you. Friend, I'm telling you, if you come to love Jesus and you come to love the Father, you will come to love yourself at a new level that you won't even understand. Friend, I love myself more than I could ever imagine, yet Jesus told me to hate me. And what has happened is I've come to hate me and love me. I come to hate the part of me that is selfish. The part of me that would keep more for myself while I let my neighbor starve. That's the part that I was supposed to hate. That is my half of the divine that was to be hated, which is your thought of Satan. Friend, you pretend as though my Father can't get rid of this thought of Satan, and that he's at his mercy and has to sacrifice his children to him. You just haven't thought about what you're thinking about. This thought of Satan's got no power, and my Father would have crushed it if he would have wanted it done. But he didn't crush it because it has its purpose, and its purpose is to give you free will, because you have to have something to choose, because if you don't have something to choose, then you've got no free will. Friend, your thought of Satan is the fruit you're eating every day. It's called your thought of selfishness. Every day that you decide that it's more important that you get more for yourself, even though everyone else has less, that is your thought of Satan. And because we all decide to turn to it, we let this world do what it does to each other. And there's a price for us to do that. And Well, that hell that he was talking about, it ain't coming, you ain't going to it, it's coming to you, friend. This thought of hell that you're worried about, it's coming here. You can just know that because, well, all of these folks have decided that following Jesus wasn't it. Friend, they've declared Trump Cyrus the Great. They've taken the man that is the most selfish of them all, put him on the highest throne in this kingdom, which was supposed to be my Father's kingdom. We put him on that throne. Jesus told you can't serve both God and money. He said you'll love one, hate the other. Be loyal to one, despise the other. Friend, Trump is the son of corporations, and corporations are an entity of money, and they have the rights of United States citizens. They buy and sell politicians like you buy and sell food. But that's okay because, well, since that's the price we chose, then that's the price he's given us. And since that's what we want, then that's what we're going to get. But I just want you to understand that it's not my Father's fault. It was your decision because we're the ones who make this decision to be selfish every day. And so just understand that my Father didn't want to do this, but in Revelations he told you that it was going to come to this because those that said that they believed in Jesus wouldn't turn. They kept everything for themselves and left Lazarus starving on their doorstep, just like Jesus said they were going to. And at the end of the day, those disciples of his that called themselves Christians, and they left their neighbor starve on their doorstep, he's going to deny them. He's going to say, I don't know you. And you're going to say, but Lord, I prophesied in your name. I cast out demons in your name. And he's going to say, I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was naked and you didn't clothe me. I was in prison and you didn't minister to me. But you know what the truth is? Those Christians, most of them don't even know he said that stuff. They listen to those deceivers talk about what it is that Jesus said, and they never went and looked at it for themselves. And because of it, well, now they've got a debt to pay. Jesus told you literally right there in the Bible, friend, that his disciples would owe twice the debt. Why is it Jesus said his followers would end up owing twice the debt? That's because you're going to pay your debt and the debt for those that wouldn't turn because they looked at you and wouldn't believe because you weren't acting like a disciple. Instead, you were acting like that thought of Satan and being all selfish, yet you had Jesus posted on your bumper stickers and on your Facebook pages, yet you weren't doing anything, being anything like Christ, and therefore the debt you owe will be twice as much. You'll owe it for you and for them. Jesus said that. So go buy a Bible with what Jesus said and read, and read that. And see that my tongue is not split, friend. I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you that Jesus' death was not enough. They lied to you. They lied to you so that they could pretend as though they were more so that you would worship them instead of my Father. You all have turned this Jesus into a golden lamb. Jesus told you, of myself I am nothing. Why do you call me good teacher? It is my Father who is good. So anybody that has not come to know the love of the Father through the Son, well then they've got a debt to pay. But that's the price we chose. And because we chose it for ourselves, so then the Father chooses it for us. It's not right or wrong, it's the choices we made. We could have loved one another. We could have cared more about our neighbor than we did about our own selfishness, our own thought of Satan, but we chose not to. We chose to not listen to what Jesus asked us to do. And I would love to say that man has enough love to do this without him, but you can see that without the love of Christ, there just is not enough love and forgiveness on this planet. And that just is what it is. And it's not right or wrong. My Father had to create us so that he had children. And, well, you know how it is when your children are growing up. If they do not abide in what it is you say, there's consequences to actions. And friend, we have consequences coming. And you might have thought that you were going to get away from those consequences because here in America, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, we've got comfortable living in our glorious houses. But I'm going to tell you something, friend. Those people that I was feeding last night, or Tuesday night, that are homeless down there in Kensington, when the law falls in this land, which it will, Those people that are on those streets in Kensington that have nothing, that you left starving, they're going to come and want to live in your $5 million mansion. Except the thing is that they're not going to mind that you're there, because they're going to share it with you whether you like it or not. You don't understand, friend. You could have taught them love. You could have taught them forgiveness. We could have all done this together. We could have did exactly what Jesus said and get down in the trenches and love each other as we love ourselves, but we chose not to. And we taught our children to be just as selfish as we are. And so therefore the sins of the father have been visited upon the son from generation to generation. So what I'm telling you is, don't blame my father for what's coming. Because you see, just like I see, it's the end of the age. And at the end of the age, the darkness comes. That's what Jesus said, and that's what it is. And it's not right or wrong. I would love for it to be a warning that you all would heed, and then we wouldn't actually get to see it, and then the darkness would never come. That would be wonderful. But the problem is we're not going to, because those that even believed in Jesus wouldn't even turn. So why are those that don't believe in Jesus going to turn? Who's giving up their $5 million mansion to feed their neighbor? Nobody. They're too busy enjoying the pride of having more than someone else to make them feel as though they're more. However, they're about to discover that they're actually less for it. Because Jesus told you to be the least among them. That's, if you wanted to be greatest in the kingdom, you had to learn to become the least. Because the more you need, the less you can have in the kingdom to come. And I'm going to tell you, you ain't getting in if you didn't do what he asked. You don't understand. They told you that you could just get in with all this pride and all that. All you had to do is believe in the death of Jesus. But there's a problem with that, friend. Satan fell from pride, you tell me. Satan was in that kingdom and was kicked out for pride. So if that's the case, then how are you getting in and staying there for a minute with pride? Have you ever thought about what it is you're thinking about? Would you get down with this message of Jesus and really pay attention to what he said? I want to see as many of us make it as possible, and I'm willing to give my life in order for you to receive yours. That's just the way it is. That's what I promised my father, so I'll give him what it is he asked, because that's what it is I gave. And so I'll fulfill what it is that he asked for, because it's worth it. And the truth of the matter is, I'm not worried about whether I'm getting that kingdom, friend, because I have it already. The love and joy that I have for my father in my heart is of great value to me. There is nothing more valuable. I don't want to go back. I would rather lose my life than go back to the life I used to live before the Holy Spirit came to me. Selfishness is suffering, and I've had enough. So for me, to unite with this love of Christ, to do what he asked, and to receive the Holy Spirit, I get to talk to the Holy Spirit, which tells me what to do, like come to Marsh Creek, even though I can't prove to you that that's what he told me to do. But see, it never mattered. You know, Jesus was able to prove it because, well, he raised the dead, healed the sick, made the blind see. But, you already had that. You had the one. You had the firstborn, the unblemished. You had what you needed in order to accomplish this task. But you let them tell you that you didn't need to do what he said. They said, oh, you can't live up to that, so don't bother trying. Friend, they lied to you. And because they lied to you, you lied to your children, and then your children are lying to their children, and this is just going on, and the suffering's going to end because we're giving my father a headache. You don't understand. Each one of us is like the thought of God. And I don't know how to explain that to you, because it won't make a whole lot of sense. But if you had everybody doing to each other what they were doing in this world, and they were doing that to each other in your head, you'd have a headache. It's time for my father to clear his mind. It's not right or wrong, it just is. It's our choice, because we won't make another choice. And I just want to talk about love. I don't want to talk about the rest of it, because love is what it is, that the only purpose of this world. But the problem is we won't choose that purpose. Instead, we get wrapped up in this thought of more for ourselves and less for others. And because we choose that, we make the wrong choice. And because we make the wrong choice, we teach our children to make the wrong choice. And so therefore, generation to generation, we just keep choosing selfishness. Jesus came 2,000 years ago. If those Christians would have been like Christ, they'd have converted the whole world, friend. But they weren't, except for a few of them. There's those exceptionals that stand out like Martin Luther King. What did you do? You shot him. That's what we do to the light, friend. We snuff it out because we don't want to think about what we're thinking about. We'd rather be selfish. And if somebody somebody really starts talking about love and forgiveness and gets it in our ears and we can't get rid of it, we'll snuff them out to get rid of it. That's what this world does. And that's what those Christians are going to do to the next messenger. They're going to kill him. Just like the Jews killed Jesus. Make no mistake. The Christians are just like the Pharisees, friends. They've gained nothing. Except for those that have. Because you know who they are. Jesus told you, you'll know them by their fruit. But if you don't know Jesus, then you still don't even know what fruit you need to have. You wouldn't know them by their fruit because you don't know what fruit Jesus actually offered you. You still think it's okay to kill each other. Jesus said the offenses must come, but woe to those who bring them. Not, oh, that's great, why don't Christians go to war and kill other people like other religions? No, friend, Jesus said, woe to those who bring them. The price that you charge them is the price you're going to pay. Ask yourself that if you were going to receive a greater kingdom in your death, and you were willing to kill another man and send him to hell for eternity, are you worthy of my Father's kingdom? Why should he let you into a kingdom that you would kill to stay out of while you send another man to eternal hell? These are the questions, friend, people won't ask themselves. They won't ask themselves what love really means. What did Jesus really mean? What did he want? He wanted to teach you to not be of the world, even though you still have to be in it. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Get down with this message of Jesus and start loving your neighbor, and you will find a greater truth and a greater love, and the one you find will be greater than what you could find here on earth. Friend, if you're suffering like I was, if you can't stand your own thoughts in your own life, then if you turn to this Jesus and do what he asked, forget the Bible. The Bible's for Babylonians. Get down with the message of Jesus. What he said is in red if you buy a book with what Jesus said in red. And then you can get down with the message of the breath of God, because they said that Jesus was the breath of God. So listen to God breathe and let the rest go. And if you do that, you will find a truth that is far greater than one that you could ever find. But it's hidden, and only those that chose it find it. Free will was never taken, and free will never be taken, and you won't know that because he told you that. He even told you a messenger was going to come, yet he said that he was going to talk exactly like him, except for he was going to deceive you. So friend, he gave you free will all the way to the end. You won't even know a messenger when he comes because you won't know which messenger he is. So my Father gave you free will all the way to the end. So it will be dark and the gates to the kingdom will have closed, and it will be too late to make your decision because you let the oil run out in your lamp. Jesus gave you parable after parable. Look at those parables about the virgins that trimmed their lamps and kept their oil in their lamps. Jesus didn't talk for 3 years so that you could ignore it. If you believed in him, then you believed in what he said. And if you didn't believe in what he said, then you didn't believe in what he died for. And because you didn't believe that in him, don't think that believing in that cross means a thing. And you don't have to believe because I said it. You can believe it because he did. All right, friends. Well, know that even though I'm kind of seeming like on a kick, know that I love you because my Father loves you. And you're worth loving. And there's just not one person on this planet that my Father doesn't want to receive the kingdom that he promised. However, understand, I'm not telling you that hell's eternal, because I think at this point, if you haven't figured it out, that if your child denied you, would you set him on fire? Friend, the hell that's coming, we're going to pay our due, but it's not forever. My Father's not a psychopath. He doesn't enjoy torturing people, and what kind of entity would you love that would kill something for and torture it forever? Yet since we allow others to be tortured, and because we're more worried about fancy cars and big houses, understand that he's going to allow you to understand what it's like to be on the other side of that fence. But that's right, because you were willing to ignore their pain, so he's going to be willing to ignore yours. So don't blame my father for your own doing. I just want you to understand that, because I'm telling you, I was just down there in the streets feeding the homeless, and I'm telling you, friend, there's suffering going on in this planet. And just because you don't want to look at it doesn't make it not happening. All right, well, may God bless you and yours.